When you hear about everybody's favorite movies and you see the top movies of all time, you see names like The Godfather and Gone with the Wind, right? And Citizen Kane. The one movie you don't see a lot, but you should, is Boogie Nights. Quentin Tarantino, we can all agree, is a brilliant filmmaker. Not just a brilliant filmmaker, the guy is a movie nerd. I mean, he makes me look like an amateur. This dude knows everything about movies. He got his start working in a VHS store, and he is like a movie nut. He knows good movies, but he also knows bad movies. He can tell you everything in between, foreign movies, you name it. And he always talks about one of his favorite films of the 90s is Boogie Nights, and he's right. And any great critic that has spoken about Boogie Nights has talked about the impact that it has had on our culture, on movie culture. It introduced Paul Thomas Anderson, the writer-director who was 27, right? Spielberg was 26 when he made a masterpiece called Jaws. Paul Thomas Anderson was 27 when he made a masterpiece called Boogie Nights. Now, here's why you don't hear, it's not on the tip of everybody's tongue when they're saying, oh, their favorite movies. Well, first of all, people like to sound smart, right? A lot of people like to say Citizen Kane. I mean, personally, I watch Citizen Kane now, and I mean, there's some great stuff in there, but it's just not one of my favorite movies, right? I'm a person, I'm just a regular moviegoer. At the end of the day, I'm a writer, so I analyze too, but I need to be entertained. And when a movie is able to do what Boogie Nights did for me, especially on the first viewing when I saw it in the movie theater in 1997, I am hook, line, and sinker in, and I want to share that excitement with everybody because I'm passionate as hell about this. Paul Thomas Anderson is now considered one of the greatest filmmakers, but at the time he made Boogie Nights, he was a kid. He was a kid that really wasn't battle tested, and nobody knew if the movie was going to work, and they didn't have a huge budget and so on and so forth. But he made this masterpiece in Boogie Nights. And why? Why is it a masterpiece? Why is it so great? Why do film buffs love this movie? Well, here's why. For starters, it's not about the porn industry, okay? Paul Thomas Anderson was smart enough to know, I need to make a movie that has a hook. I need to make a movie that's going to put asses in seats. So I need to world build it. We talk about world building. Your movie, what world does your movie live in? Why is somebody going to leave the nice comforts of their home to go to a movie theater with sticky floors and buttered popcorn and watch it? Well, you have to have a hook. You have to have something to pull them in. Paul Thomas Anderson was like, what about the porn industry from the 1970s? And everybody's like, oh, that's a little taboo. That's a little crazy. I'll go see that. And they went. And then they got fed something far more powerful than just a story, a rise and fall story of a guy named Dirk Diggler who was in the porn industry. I like to compare it to the aspirin in the applesauce, right? You got to take medicine. You don't want to take the medicine. It tastes like crap. So what do? You put it in something sweet, right? Then you get the vitamins and you get the sweet. This movie gives you the sweet, which is the hook of porn industry. Lots of music, dance sequences, roller skates, right? Taboo. And then it gives you the aspirin. It gives you that vitamin underneath that makes you feel. Because when I watch this movie, I feel everything. Why? Well, first of all, it's not about the porn industry. It's about family. I said that before, right? Family. What does that mean? What is family to all of us? It's people that we surround. It's our tribe. It's the people that we surround ourselves that make us feel better about ourselves. Everybody needs a family. Everybody needs a tribe. We need one another. And in this movie, it takes the island of misfit toys, all of these people that have sort of been rejected by society. If you look at Mark Wahlberg's character, Dirk Diggler, he's not the smartest guy in the world. He's not educated at all. He's working a dead-end job. He doesn't get along with his mom. And then he has one thing that he feels he has going for him. And he's a really good lover. And he takes that and he knows, okay, maybe he doesn't even know he's doing it as a character. He's like 18 years old in the movie, but he finds himself traveling all the way from Torrance, California to Reseda, California, where they do what? Where they film pornos. And he's a busboy in this nightclub. He could work. He doesn't take 3 buses. He can work in a place closer to home, but he goes there because he's in search of something. Now, Paul Thomas Anderson doesn't come right out and say this. He entertains you, and he shows you this young kid, and then he shows you the father character in Burt Reynolds, who recognizes him and sees him as a piece of gold, a kid who's got something special. He can feel it because he's in the business for so long. He is an artist in his mind. He is father to all his actors, Burt Reynolds' character, Jack Horner. Then you have the mom character, played brilliantly by Julianne Moore. Her name is Amber Waves. She's an actress in adult films, but she has had, quite literally, Paul Thomas Anderson gave her a missing child, meaning her husband has taken her child and she doesn't have any custody. So now she wants to mother people. Now, is it twisted? Is she mothering people that she's working with and doing scenes with? Yes. But no matter what, it's not perfect. It's a family. It's broken. It's dirty. It's nasty. It's sometimes hate them. Sometimes they hate each other. Sometimes they love each other. And then there's the brother character in Reed, played by John C. Reilly. And Mark Wahlberg's character, Dirk Diggler, becomes close with him. And they have a brotherhood. And they're playing and they're doing their thing and they're young. And now all of a sudden they're making money because they're making movies. And Dirk Diggler is the biggest porn star in the world. And then it all comes crashing down. The family structure is broken. Now, part of the reason why I love this movie is the cinematic value of the movie. How Paul Thomas Anderson weaves this tapestry about this family. At certain points in the movie, you just look at it and you're like, wow, that was smart. The first thing he did was he wanted to show the rise of Dirk Diggler and the family. Jack's directing, Amber's starring, Reed is co-starring. Everybody's doing great. Look at us. We're all so happy. The music is great. It's 1970s and everything is wonderful. And then he has a New Year's party from 1979 to 1980. He's making a comment. It's a political commentary on the change between the hedonistic 70s and the 80s, Reaganomics, right? The sobering 1980s. And that's where Paul Thomas Anderson decides to fracture the family. Right there, quite literally at a party. From 1979 to 1980, when the clock strikes midnight, there's a murder. Dirk Diggler, Mark Wahlberg's character, does cocaine for the first time. And there's fights and there's fracturing and everything goes kaflooey. And the rest of the movie is about watching the family structure erode. It's bad. They all reach the absolute lows. Because when you don't have your family, you don't have your power source, you have nothing. And they're all struggling to find themselves outside of that family that they've built. How are we going to work this in this new thing, this 1980s, when we're arguing and we're hating each other and we're separate and the family is apart? And that's when they're away from their power source. And then slowly they start to come back together, but not before Paul Thomas Anderson brings them all to an absolute low. It's operatic. It's cinematic. It's relatable. It's smart, and it makes you feel. And even if you don't know why you're feeling it, perhaps you're feeling it because we all are in search of something bigger than ourselves. We are all in search of that connection, that human connection that validates all the good things in the world. And when it's gone, we are lost. And in the end of the movie, it's a somewhat happy ending where the family finds its way back together. But you have gone through this journey in this movie that I think anybody that's ever had family issues, anybody that has had anything other than just a perfect life will really be able to relate to. Highly recommend. Quentin Tarantino, you were right about this one. Boogie Nights is a masterpiece.